What is up, everybody? Happy Thursday. It is May 24th. We are in the studio. I got the lights all bright today, and we are going to be talking about something that a lot of people in Cleveland, in these southwest suburbs, specifically the suburbs itself, are still facing today, and that is multiple offers. How do we win them? How do you not overpay, especially blindly overpaying when you don't have to? And today we're going to give you 7 different ways that you can win in a multiple offer situation without blindly overpaying. And this is a strategy, a playbook, if you will, that we use in Strongsville, Broxville, Broadview Heights, North Royalton, Parma, specifically even into Richfield, Bath, Hinckley, these areas in Northeast Ohio that we're consistently still seeing multiple offers, guys. And it's a thing, it's a real thing. And I want to give you 7 strategies that our clients are using that we've developed over the past 6 years since the post-COVID market that we are using every single day, that our clients are using to win in multiple offer situations. Now, they're using some of them, they might use all of them. But what's important to know is through these 7 strategies that I'm going to share with you today, these 7 strategies are pieces. It's a framework to work within. We're not saying you have to use them. We're saying these are what folks are using to win in multiple offer situations in Northeast Ohio, right? Especially in those southwest suburbs. So what I'm going to do here is I'm still figuring all this stuff out. Is I'm going to bring in the slide deck here. Well, that's interesting. I'm going to bring in the slide deck here, and what I want to do is we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. And the first thing that I want to talk about is this myth that you have to keep losing because you simply aren't paying enough. And I will tell you emphatically, as a strong listing agent, as a listing agent that fights for their client harder than a lot of listing agents I know, the reality here is that it's not always a pricing problem, that oftentimes sellers will choose an offer because terms are better, because the agent on the other side communicates better. We're going to go through all of this today. But your reality is that it is not always a pricing problem. This is not a strategy, or that it is a strategy problem, and that the buyers who are consistently winning in this market, they're executing 7 specific tactical steps throughout the offer process. And we're going to go through what those 7 are right now. So what I want to share first with you is that this is not a market where you can take 3 days to decide, right? We tell people all the time, if you want to live in the home, you can't sleep on the home. So another way to put it is, if you want to sleep in it, you can't sleep on it. And what we mean by that is, if you're going to be shopping, and if you're going to be out and looking at different properties, we want you to understand the market in ways that you're an expert before you even get in there, right? So like Strongsville, for example, if we're looking at this graph, Strongsville, for example, has a median home price of $399,900, and it's taking on average 20 days to go under contract. Well, you look at Broadview Heights, Brecksville, for example, we're closer to that sub 10 day where you got to be ready to move when it comes on the market. You got to be ready to go. And you see that, right? The shorter the days on the market, the faster homes are going to sell, the faster you as a buyer need to be prepared to execute on that property. So strategy number 1, let's talk about it. And it's this pre-approval versus pre-qualified. You have lenders that will send a pre-qualification letter versus a lender that's going to send you a fully pre-approved letter saying that income, assets, and credit have all been verified. Now, the difference There's a lender that you can call that's going that, they've been doing it for 20 years or 30 years or whatever. And they're going to ask you a series of questions and they're going to say, based on X, Y, and Z, yeah, you should be good. You should be good. I'll go ahead and issue you that pre-approval. Now, to some agents, if you're not a strong listing agent or if you're newer in the business, you might look at that and say, okay, fine, that's cool. I got that. I'm good. Yet if this isn't a fully pre-approved buyer, where I'm telling you again, income, assets, and credit being verified by a reputable local lender, that piece is huge. Reputable local lender. The seller and the listing agent are going to know the difference. And what I mean by that is there's more truth. Sellers and listing agents will hold more truth to a lender that is from Northeast Ohio than they will from a lender that is in Boise, Idaho, Detroit, Michigan, Phoenix, Arizona. Pick a location, right? That local lender means a lot. The second strategy here is going to be the hard ceiling concept. And what I mean by the hard ceiling concept is where the property is listed versus what you're going to pay for it. And you need, as a buyer in today's market, you need to be able to figure out the highest you're comfortable paying for a property. And I'm going to suggest that you need to start having that conversation before you even get inside. Because once you're hesitating, the agent on the phone, me on the phone, we're going to lose our position. Meaning, if for example, New Hampton and Broadview Heights, that community, if it's priced right, that house is going to sell within 7 days. I promise you, that house will sell within 7 days and you will be in multiple offers. If you go into it thinking that maybe I'm going to get a deal on it, maybe I can offer a few thousand less, or maybe I just go in and ask and you're hesitating on, well, maybe I could, maybe I won't, I don't really know. You're going to lose positioning. And the longer that you sit, the more likely that it is that somebody else is going to fall in love with that home too. And now you've lost that position. So it's very important when this hard ceiling concept that we talk about, it's a concept of, yes, you're pre-approved for $550,000. The property's listed at $425,000. What are you willing to pay for that property as a hard ceiling? Like, what is your top dollar that you're willing to pay? That is the hard ceiling concept. And it's knowing that it's listed here, but you might be willing to pay here, figuring out what that dollar amount is. And I tell folks, I say, listen, if you were to wake up tomorrow morning and to find out that somebody was able to secure the property at X and you would have been willing to pay Y, are you upset? If the answer is no, then that's your hard ceiling. If you say, well, I would have spent 553 and somebody secured it at 552, well, then your hard ceiling is 553, maybe 555, right? Figuring out what your hard ceiling is and then holding there is going to be vitally, vitally important for you as you're going through this, because this is what this is going to look like. Here's what that hard ceiling concept actually looks like. Starting offers at $395,000. That is what the property is listed at. Well, you then find out that you're going to be in a multiple offer situation. So you increase that from $395,000 to $405,000, and you're going to use an escalation clause to get you there. And that escalation clause is going to increase your offer by $2,500 over the next highest offer. Well, now your new offer is at $407,500, because we're going to compete aggressively without blindly guessing how high to go, right? Strong listing agents are going to recommend, and very, very strong buyers agents are going to almost mandate, in a sense, the use of an escalation clause. Because what this does is it says, yeah, I'm willing to pay this, but you need to force me to and prove to me that there's another offer that escalates my price up to this dollar amount, right? So that's going to be what requires seller documentation. There is the increase in my offer. Seller has to prove to me that you've enacted the escalation clause. So escalation clauses are a phenomenal way to do this in getting to what your hard ceiling is. And again, the hard ceiling is, it's saying if I were to wake up in the morning and found out that I lost the house because somebody was willing to pay more than I was, am I going to be upset by that? If the answer is no, that you're not going to be upset, well, you found your hard ceiling. And in this example, your hard ceiling is 420,000 and the property's listed at 395, and we're going to have an escalation clause that's going to build up to that that's going to build up to that $420,000 mark, right? So the next strategy that we're going to use here is going to be an increase in our earnest money deposit. And typically in Northeast Ohio, we like to see a 1% earnest money deposit. So on a $400,000 home, we like to see a 1%, so $4,000. Now that's your average offer in an average stack, right? So if I'm a listing agent and you come to me with an offer, and let's say I now have 3 offers, and every single offer is 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%, nothing is standing out to me. Nothing's standing out to me because everything is blending together, and there's nothing that says this buyer is willing to do more. This agent advised their buyer to do more. And yet, if I got an offer in the pile of 3 to 4 offers, if I got an offer that said, we'll do a 2 to 3% earnest money deposit, well, now we're talking. Now this buyer is showing that, well, listen, we have more skin in the game. We want the house more. We're willing to give a larger earnest money deposit because of that. So we're at $8,000, $12,000 as a multiplier now because of what we were willing to do along the way. So again, what does it look like? How do we get there? The next one that we're going to talk about is going to be inspections. Now, I will never, as a buyer's agent, I will never tell my client you should waive your home inspection. I don't believe you should. I don't believe you should unless it's something that you feel you need to do. Now, I'm also going to tell you as a listing agent, when a buyer decides to waive their home inspection, it is more appealing than one that doesn't. However, I will also tell you that we need to find ways to eliminate risk on the seller's behalf without screwing the pooch, if you will, on your end as the buyer's agent. So how do we do that? Well, we do it a couple different ways. And one of the way we do it is by telling the seller, as a buyer, we're looking only for big stuff. We're not looking for to be nickeled and dimed. So gutters, garage door openers, furnace tune-up. We're not looking at stupid stuff. We're looking at big ticket items, cracked foundation, failing roof, structural issues. Does the basement flood? That's the stuff we're looking at here, right? So when we're looking at big ticket items, being able to say, listen, our buyer will not ask for any repairs under $10,000. It gives that seller the peace of mind in knowing that they're not going to get nickeled and dimed by a GFC outlet in the kitchen, or a door that that doesn't close properly, or whatever it is. We're looking at big ticket items. But again, as a buyer's agent, I will never encourage you to waive your home inspection. I don't believe you should. I don't believe, legally, I can't tell you to anyways. And I will also tell you that there's ways around it so that you can still have your inspection, right? Informational purposes only. Being able to have an inspection for my knowledge, so I know what I'm getting into, right? Because what we want to make sure is that you, as a buyer's agent, that you retain your right to walk away from the property, and it protects you from a catastrophic financial ruin. Getting into something going, oh yeah, basement flooded. We knew the basement flooded. Well, if we would have had an inspection, we could have seen that, right? Potentially. So that is definitely another way to be able to do that. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to start talking about timeline. We're going to start getting into this what we call the golden question, and it is the preferred closing timeline of the seller. Now, again, this is where price matters, but details matter more. And we do that because our goal is to create a frictionless transaction for this seller. And this is arguably where terms mean more than price in some instances. So again, how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do that by asking questions of the listing agent to find out what matters more to the seller. In this example, I'm going to give you two. There's seller A who already bought their next home. So for them, they might need a faster close, and that might be more appealing. Versus buyer or seller B who hasn't found their home, we might be able to craft our offer in a way that delays possession for them 30 to 60 days, possible rent back opportunity, different things to get creative so that seller has more peace of mind and they have the ability to choose, right? We just wrote an offer last weekend. We gave the seller our number, but we also said, closing date, Mr. Seller, you go ahead and choose it. Because we want the house more than we want to close in 30 days, right? So how do we do that? We do that by finding out terms that are important to the seller so that we can then come back and say, listen, here's what we're willing to do. We're going to give you a shortened inspection window, and we're going to let you choose the closing and possession date. What's more important to you, price or terms? Now, the other thing, and this is arguably what I will suggest is one of the most important pieces here, is it's understanding as a listing agent, it's being that locally known agent in the marketplace. Listing agents like to do business with agents that they've worked with because they know they have a familiarity there, versus an agent, for example, we're in Cleveland, so we'll use Columbus. An agent from Columbus coming in, they don't know the local marketplace. They don't know the paperwork's not the same. The details are different, right? A listing agent will show, and this is just life, a bias towards a local agent that they know that they've worked with before, who has clean paperwork, who communicates strongly, who has a proven track record in Brecksville, Broadview Heights, North Royalton, Parma, Avon, wherever you are in Northeast Ohio, right? That agent is going to have that stronger track record. They're going to be able to have a little bit more pull versus an agent that's not from here or not from the local marketplace, right? So local agents, again, they know the price, they know the terms are equal, but the agent and a local reputation, it's an invisible edge. And it's an edge in the marketplace that truly does matter a lot of times, right? A lot of times it truly does matter. So again, we're going to talk, let's talk about your standard buyer, which is losing, and your strategic buyer that ultimately wins, right? So they're going to prep. We're going to be fully pre-approved with a local lender. We're not going to get a pre-qualification from some online website where you plugged it in and like, this isn't Geico, right? 15 minutes doesn't save you 15 minutes or more, or 15% or more. Like what this does is 45 minutes with a local lender is going to save you a lot of headache in the long term. We're going to understand our budget. First and foremost, we're not doing things on the fly. We are going to establish a ceiling before we tour, and we're going to understand how to use an escalation clause in a pricing strategy so that we are not blindly overpaying on a property. The fourth thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about earnest money. We're going to be a strong buyer. We're not going to wing it. We're not going to do less than 1%. We're going to talk about a 2 to 3% multiplier to show that you do have skin in the game, that you do want the house, that you do care more than the other offers, and it's going to just strategically position you better. The fifth thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about inspections. We're not asking for minor repairs. We are looking for health and safety and informational purposes with a $5,000 to $10,000 threshold. This, believe it or not, will go a lot further than most people think. And if you were sitting there going, well, Rich, I don't want to do a 2 to 3% multiplier on earnest money. I'm more comfortable doing an informational purposes only home inspection. That is going to give you so much traffic, so much leverage in just that alone. Then we're also going to look at terms, right? We're going to talk about How do we tailor these terms to the seller's preferred timeline? This matters so much. And in the example I shared, right, we let the seller determine when we closed. How long do you need to be in the house post close? All that stuff matters. And then, last but not least, that local track record in the suburbs of somebody that you need. And all of that gets culminated in that buyers winning in the southwest suburbs right now. They're prepared. And if you've been losing, you need to change the playbook. You just need to change the playbook. And you do that by scheduling a free, no pressure strategy call with us for an honest look at your situation. You can do that. You can email us. You can text me. You can call me. That is my personal cell phone number. So yes, it's this phone right here. It will ring when you call or text that number. That is me. That is me. And that's my AI me, apparently, right? Because, look, who doesn't like a guy dressed in a blue suit? I don't know. No, that's not me. I got a beard. I got some facial hair. I don't quite have that poofy comb over. But again, these are 7 things that you can do as a buyer today in today's market to win in a multiple offer situation, so that when it does come time for you to buy your next home, you are doing it strong. You are doing it from a position of strength, and you're not winging it, because winging it in this market doesn't work. You lose in this market when you wing it. And when you're not prepared or working with a local agent, it's going to be a hindrance for you. It just truly is. And I don't want that for you. I don't want that for anybody. And in a market where homes are selling in less than 30 days, and then depending on the neighborhood, like New Hampton and Broadview Heights, where they're going to sell within 4 or 5 days, you have to be ready. You have to be prepared. You have to know what you're getting, and you have to be ready to literally pull the trigger on it, so that because again, if you want to sleep in it, you can't sleep on it. And I harp that to all my clients. If you want to sleep in it, you can't sleep on it. If you have questions, feel free, leave me a message, give me a call, hit subscribe. We do a live video every single week where we're going to be giving you tips and tricks just like this. Hit subscribe, hit the little bell option. We're coming at you every week. We got other videos that we're talking about, comparing neighborhoods, different cities, pros and cons every single week. We are coming at you with some more content, wanting to be that local source for you, so that when it comes time to buy or sell real estate here in Northeast Ohio, you have a resource. My name's Rich Gannum. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, that hurt. I will catch you next week. Otherwise, check out some more content on the channel. Hit subscribe, please. Thank you so much. See ya.